Uh, I tell you, this morning's insight was very insightful, and I want to encourage you to rearrange your schedules to try to get here for insight because it offers next week will be prayer, and then there will be a teaching or a sharing, and that gives us a time to uh, midrash or volley back and forth, and it's that fine tuning that we need. What we're about to embark upon right now is set up more like uh, I don't want to say a lecture, but more of a teaching where there's very little interaction. But I will say, uh, the more chaotic things get, the more I pray you'll see the need for coming to something like insight, coming to an hour of prayer where uh, we can go to Him as a group. I know that many have their own personal times with the Most High, and He loves that. And again, I'm not saying this as if I've seen the playbook, uh, but in trying to search the scriptures and things of that nature, it's apparent that He likes time with us individually. He likes time with households. He likes times with couples. But He also likes time with assemblies of believers. And I'm going to say something, and I pray you don't take offense. Um, in seeking the Most High, it's been translated that when you seek Him with your whole heart, you'll find Him. And, you know, oftentimes when you're really in pursuit of something that's vitally important in your life, you will rearrange whatever you have to rearrange. You see, we all, and again, I pray that we have the maturity to hear what's being said and not take offense. But I'm going to say this. Oftentimes, particularly in this country, a lot has been set up, put in place, and everything's been prepared, and all you got to do a lot of times is just show up. And we have gotten so, again, I'm going to borrow the word, we've become so casual that we think, I'll take a pass. Or we'll look at maybe some situation that's going on in our lives, and we're saying, well, you know, I'll get it handled, or Yah and I will get it handled. And, you know, so uh, you don't deem it that important that you be here. some of us have had that attitude, and we've been working on whatever it is, and it's been that way for the last several years. When are we going to realize we got to do something different? I'm not saying what you've been doing is futile. I'm not, who the heck am I? But what I'm saying is when something has been set up and something has been prepared, come get it. You're not that busy. Your life's not that complicated. And again, I'm not saying this as if mine is. Mine isn't either. But I'm telling you, now is not the time to be casual. Now's not the time to think you got it all together and that let the storm come, because it's coming. And I'm saying as nicely as I can, what you've been doing, it ain't working. Possibly some of the people that you're seeking counsel from. Maybe you should come here. I've said in times past, there's a difference in those that are living by his instructions versus those living by what's being proclaimed. There is a difference. And with the event of calamities that are on the way, people are going to need solid individuals for counsel and whatever else is happening. Because, see, our groups, our associations, our colleagues, or whatever else we're putting our trust in, they're going to be bailing water as well. So I'm just trying to encourage you. Really look at your schedule. And sometimes, I agree. Sometimes you just can't be there. I know stuff happens. Real stuff happens. You might be in a hospital, that type of thing. I'm not talking about so-and-so's in town and I want to go see that. See, being casual, it messes with your priorities. You start making me stuff more important than y'all stuff. And his stuff comes first. And you might say, well, Barry, I got my stuff all together, and the rest of y'all that don't, well, just shame on y'all. That's why y'all need to be in there. I don't need to be there. I don't need to come. I understand all that stuff. Well, you just lied to yourself. Folks, I'm just trying to say it in the nicest way I know how, and then we're going to get into the lesson. Listen, nobody wants to keep preparing a banquet table for you, and you too lazy to come eat. Because eventually, somebody might say, you know what, I'm going to pack my table up, and I'm going somewhere else. And then in your real time of need, you come and there's no table, there's no banquet, and you just as hungry as you are when you first left your place. Stop playing the people of Yah and stop playing Yah cheap. Again, I'm going to say this again. Your life is not that complicated. Your situation, It's nothing he can't fix. And again, some of us have been fixing it for years, and I'll dare say decades, and nothing's changed. You might want to check who you're getting counsel from. You might want to check who it is you're meeting up for prayer with. If nothing's changed in 10 years, you might want to check the type of prayers you're praying. We were talking about the evil inclination this morning, and we're going back to Jeremiah. But I tell you, I wish the whole city could have heard what was taught this morning. I wish all this so-called church folk had heard what was shared this morning. It's needful. Because winds are going to begin to blow. I know March is a windy month anyway, but other winds are going to be blowing. And you know, that's not the time to find out a lot of the formulas and DVDs you bought and stuff. All of that stuff don't work. And you done spent all your money. One day somebody might say, you know, hey, that's enough. Y'all might say, that's enough. Pack it in. Pack it up. We don't know. See, we've gotten real casual about stuff. Don't do that. You know, some of our favorite restaurants have closed. Some of our favorite shopping places have closed. You know, I hope no houses of worship closed. You know, some leaders might say, you know, hey, Father, I'm packing it in. Some might say, you don't know where a person is at. And we keep thinking, I'll see them next week. Well, we don't know. You might not be here next week. They may not be here next week. Let's shake ourselves of this, I got it. No, you don't. Just try to make it out. I do believe whatever shared can enhance not only your relationship with the Most High, but enhance your relationship with those that are trying to live their lives by His instructions, because there is a difference. And so when you remember scriptures where it says, my sheep know my voice, here's another way to say that. My sheep know my Torah. What is the significance of that? My sheep that know my Torah will know what to do, know when to move, because it is in the studying and understanding and the walking out of the Torah. You show yourself to be a light. You show yourself to be a possible resource for people that are drowning. And again, I've said it a couple of years ago, people need you. People need us. And it's more than just be warm, be fed. But you want to be sure that the counsel that you give them is Yah-centered, not what's being proclaimed, because that's not going to help them. Times are getting more and more serious. But I tell you, that thing lit me up this morning because you see, in translating and even in teaching, you can just change one word and take a person's mindset in a whole nother direction. And they don't get the essence of what the Most High was saying. They got what some preacher or singer or whatever. You got their evil inclination. And you're making that a part of your foundation. That's dangerous. We're going to be coming out of Jeremiah, 16th chapter. And again, you know, I'm just trying to show us, and myself included, that yes, he does love us. Yes, we're the apple of his eye. Yes, we're all that. We are. But sometimes we frustrate him. And yet he loves us. And a lot of times when he tries to correct us and teach us, it's not always pleasant. But I want to read something. And I want you to think about how things are here and everywhere else. Because again, it's not just in the United States. 16. The word of Yah came to me. He's talking to Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah talking. The word of Yah came to me. You are not to marry or have sons and daughters in this place. For this is what Yah says concerning the sons and daughters born here, as well as their mothers who gave birth to them, and their fathers who conceived them in this land. They will die terrible deaths without being mourned or buried. They will be left on the ground like dung. Now, I know that we had a person come one time and they were doing a teaching and they said something about, I think they said something, maybe they intimated that Jezebel was misunderstood. And I wasn't here that day, but I'd done a little study about Jezebel, and it wasn't because this information I had got prior to knowing that that's what they were going to be sharing about. But long story short, Jezebel wasn't a nice person. I'll just put it that way. And, you know, when the Most High is really not pleased, he won't even allow you to be buried. And writings say that now her husband, because she was married to a king, the king finally did have some sense, somewhat, and he at least, I guess for lack of a better word, he repented to a degree that the Most High allowed him to be buried, not Jezebel. Not Jezebel. And the scripture said that they both died a horrible death. So again, see, when I'm talking about system teaching, training coming in, people with their own Torah come in and, you know, they may have an impressive title, and I'm not knocking anybody that's got a title or whatever. But I'm saying in these days, you got to be careful who you're putting your ears under. which goes back to why I'm saying a lot of times people go, I'm not going this morning. I'm going to talk with my group, my this, my that. Well, does anyone have the mind of the Most High in that group? Or are they all talking of these, what we call vain philosophies? That stuff's not going to help you. When that dam breaks, now this is what he's saying. He's saying, listen, he says, for this is what Adonai, and I like to say Yah, says concerning the sons and daughters born here, as well as their mothers who gave birth to them and their fathers who conceived them in this land. They will die terrible deaths without being mourned or buried. They will be left on the ground like dung. They will die by the sword and by famine, and their corpses will be food for the birds in the air and the wild animals. Now, you don't hear much of that. You see, oh, you're so precious, you're so wonderful. He's going to give you 3 houses and 6 cars. But drop an offering in the plate. Let me read a little further. For here is what Adonai says, Yah. Do not enter, this is what he told Jeremiah. He says, do not enter any house where there is mourning. Don't lament them and don't grieve for them. For I have removed my shalom from this people. The same God that says we're the apple of his eye. See, we were given one side. Give your heart to God. We were taught to seek his hand. Gimme. And he wanted us, so to speak, to be like Moses, where we would have the privilege of being face to face with him. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, the Bible said, no man has seen God and yet lived. Yeah, I understand all that. But he welcomes a time to be intimate with each one of us, individually and collectively. And we need that more and more because, see, the more time you spend with him in an intimate way, that's going to help you help somebody else that's coming to you. Man, my life is just in shambles, man. You got a few minutes? Do we have a few minutes? Or are we on our quest to the next appointment? Or I got dinner reservations or I'm going to pick up my new, well, man, I wanted to go to the ball game. Or whatever it else that we like to do. And again, nothing wrong with those things. But here's a distraught soul. And have we, as the people of God, have we become so callous? Now, this time I'm not talking about careless or casual. I'm talking about C-A-U-L-O-U-S, I think, callous. Mean hard-hearted that, hey, look, that's your problem. A lot of believers have kind of gotten to that. Like, hey, that's your thing. When did we stop? Yes. When did we stop? You remember during the pandemic when people were leaving here and we got 8 died today. When is the next bake sale? We were that blew my mind. We didn't even cry anymore until it hit our friends, hit our families. Then I'm like, what happened to us? And then we started charging one another like, well, they died because they didn't have the right kind of faith. Oh, what is wrong with us? See, that kind of thinking comes from being casual. You attribute anything to God as long as you get to keep your schedule. That's dangerous. Let me read a little further, because it does get better. Yeah. He said, do not enter any house where there is mourning. Don't lament them, and don't grieve for them, for I have removed my shalom from this people, as well as my grace and compassion. See, again, we've been taught that that's never ending. It's like, they trying to come back. You know, a certain restaurant had never-ending shrimp. And they coming back, and it's a young brother from, I think, Nigeria that's trying to bring them back. I hope he's successful. But I didn't call no names, so they can't sue me. But I'm saying, see, now, yes. I know he said, your sins and iniquities I'll remember no more forever. Or I'll throw it, we've been taught that, if you mess up, he's going to take what you messed up and throw it in the sea of forgetfulness. But that's not what he's saying here. And remember now, the whole Bible. See, when you remove yourself from the foundation, the whole Bible is true. Let me say that again. The whole Bible is true. Not just the parts that we think are up to date. Barry, this is 2025. If another person tell me what year it is again, what's that got to do with the Most High? What? In other words, they're saying, hey, man, get with it. That's what they. And I'm like, well, I could have cussed you out in 2024. I'll cuss you out now. Now, I know I'm not supposed to, but that's what I feel like. Oh, somebody, man, it's 2025. So? Were you broke in 2023? Yeah. Well, it's 2025. You still broke? And again, you talk to somebody, hey, bro, I ain't seen you in a while. Yeah, well, bro, I'm going through this, and I'm doing this, but, we working on it. Ain't that what you told me 3 years ago? Man, my schedule, I'm too busy to do. Oh, really? Okay. And again, it's not about come in and let me beat you over the head with the Bible. No. There may be somebody in here that can reach that person. See, he talked about making disciples. Making disciples take time, take work. See, sometimes instead of bringing them here, sometimes you got to go to their home. Do we have time for that? Really? Or maybe we don't, but are we willing to make time for that? And that's for everybody. You don't have to be a pastor or a deacon or whatever. If you're a believer, do you have time for that? Are you willing to make time for that? Or are you too busy? Then he says, great and small alike will die in this land. They will not be buried. People will not lament them, nor will they cut their flesh or shave their heads for them. No one will prepare a meal for those in mourning to comfort them for the dead. And no one will give them a cup to drink to console them for their father or mother. And you are not to go into any house where there is celebrating, to sit with them, eating and drinking. For here is what Yah, the God of Israel, says. In this place, while you are still alive, before your very eyes, I will put an end to the sounds of joy and gladness and to the voices of bridegroom and bride. Now, what you've just heard in your hearing, think about what you just heard versus what you get other places. I'll just put it that way. See, you're taught that, hey, man, everything's all right. You're in like Flint. Don't worry about it. It's like that guy that was going, he had so much stuff. He says, oh, well, hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a bigger barn. And then somebody said, thou fool, this night your soul is required. I'm not against having nice things. I like them myself. But folks, let's keep it in perspective. It's more to serving the Most High than just getting a bunch of stuff. And most of us are at an age now, all we doing is dusting off this stuff. And then we starting to realize, I got too much stuff. We could give it to somebody else. He says, when you tell this people all that I have said, and they ask, this is what Yah says now. He says, when you tell this people all that I have said, and they ask you, why has Yah decreed all this terrible disaster against us? Now, isn't that what most believers are asking today, particularly here in the United States? Because see, is it possible that because of our casualness, he's saying, hey, man, Barry, have you forgotten me? And I'm saying, oh, no. No, I ain't never going to forget you. No. And I said, Father, I tried to make a deal with him, but he never answered. So I don't know whether he accepted my terms or not. But I said, man, don't touch my wallet. I can't function with no money. And he know in the United States ain't nothing free. I want you to listen to what he said. He said, you tell them what I've read. Then he says, and when they ask, why has Yah decreed all this terrible disaster against us? What is our iniquity? What is our iniquity? What is our sin that we have committed against Yah, our God? Then he says, then you ought to say to them, listen to this. It is because your ancestors abandoned me, says Yah, and went after other gods, serving and worshiping them, but abandoned me and did not keep my Torah. Now, so we'll say, oh, because, a lot of us, I know sometime when we, in the men's group, some of us have said, man, if Adam had only spoke up, we won't put it all on Adam. Well, we put it on Adam, but we call who some names too. Well, they don't, I do. I'll take that off of them. So we're quick to say, well, Most High, that was them. Listen to what he said after what I just read. And keep in mind now the stuff that you hear on the TV, on the radio, about how wonderful that we are. Listen to what he says. He said that they abandoned me and did not keep my Torah. And then he already put us in checkmate before we could say, that was them, that won't. He says, listen, and you have done worse than your ancestors. So he's talking to us. He's talking to us. See, we loved it. That was them. Don't raise your hands. Which one of you was the tattletale in your family when something broke or something? It was always one. They gonna sing like a canary. As soon as the parents ask who broke it, somebody always gonna tell. Some of them you could offer them a bribe. My sister would take the bribe and still tell on you. But he says, and you have done worse than your ancestors. For look, and listen, and this where Donnie's thing came in so clear this morning. I mean, it got so excited. I had to remember, he's teaching, not me. I had to sit down. But listen to what's coming up. He says, and you have done worse than your ancestors. For look, each of you lives according to the stubbornness of his own evil heart, so that you don't listen to me. Now, in the King James, for those of you that are used to that, read it in that, but it still said the same thing. They just use a few these and thous. So again, instead of talking about, but God, that was them. He said, hey, Brad, what are you pointing them out to me for? You've done just as worse. In fact, you've done worse than them. So we shouldn't be so puffed up. We shouldn't be so arrogant. Our arrogance stinks in his nostrils. That's the truth, man. I don't care how angelic you think you sing or preach. That stuff stinks in his nostrils. And if you ever catch a whiff of it for you, because sometimes, don't raise your hands, but you've been working out in the garden or something, and you know you need to take a shower when you can smell yourself. So when you can smell yourself, do you know how sensitive his nose is? We need to return to real reverence of him and stop thinking he's our buddy. He's the Most High. He is a friend to us. He said, I am that I am. In other words, I'll be whatever you need me to be. But first and foremost, he's Yah. Let me read a little further. Therefore, I am thrusting you out of this land into a land you have not known, neither you nor your ancestors, and there you will serve other gods day and night, for I will show you no favor. Again, in here they're saying, y'all saying, Barry, I ain't showing you no favor. You're going to have some tough days. But if I don't want to call no names, but if I go somewhere else, I'll hear about how wonderful I am. And if I buy a certain book or tape and send $29.95, he going to show me how to pray and get 3 more, whatever it is I don't need. For I will show you no favor. Therefore, says Yah, the day will come when people will no longer swear, as Yah lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but as Yah lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land to the north and out of all the countries where he drove them. See, one way the story is told is, he brought them out. But it's going to be so tough that they'll go from saying that to, man, and he drove them out. And it wasn't pleasant. And right now, for a lot of us, things aren't necessarily pleasant. And before we start asking, well, what did we do? What did we do? We just got the answer. We've become too casual. I keep saying one day he might say, don't prepare no more tables. And see, we were taught God would never do that. The God I serve would never do that. You have said correctly, the God you serve. But is that God is that God Yahweh? We even talked about this morning. A lot of times people will, well, I differ with that. Yeah. Are you differing with his Torah versus your Torah? Because I can help you there too. He said our righteousness is as filthy rags. So once again, get off your holy high horse. It's dung in his nostrils. We should get off of our holy high horse. It's dung in his nostrils. Is there any hope? Yes, there's hope. But we got to get our minds right. Anybody remember that movie, Steve McQueen, Cool Hand Luke? Remember he kept escaping? And that warden said, you got to get your mind right. Well, that's what some of us got to do. Us believers, we got to get our minds right. We have allowed our evil inclination to come up with its own Torah. This is how I see it, and this is how I'm going to live by. Be careful with that kind of thinking. Bend your will, your neck to his instructions, because his way is best. It's very serious that we understand that. Mm. 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 And then he said, but as Adonai lives, who brought the people out of Israel, out of the land to the north, and out of all the countries where he drove them, then he says, and here's the good part, he says, for I will bring them back to their own land, which I gave to their ancestors. See, so yeah, sometimes it gets a little rocky for us, but it's getting rocky for us because we got out of line. We got out of order. We got his things out of order. See, we decided, well, no, I got a better way. We're going to do this way. And I'm saying, no, not just me, but because I've been a part. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Instead of saying, wait a minute, what does Yah say about this? Remember, Moses had all that trouble with his brother and sister? God talked to me too. And the Most High said, well, I tell you what. I'm going to deal with y'all. Those two impeded the progress by 3 days. They got something like leprosy or something. And of course, Moses had to pray on their behalf. See, a lot of times saints, what's between Yah and his person? Mind your business. Stop trying to insert yourself in you ain't in the equation in that way. Be careful about that. Particularly if a person's trying to give their all to do things by his way of doing it, not by their intellect, not by their Torah. He says, for I will bring them back to their own land, which I gave to their ancestors. Look, says Yah, I will send many fishermen, and they will fish for them. Afterwards, I will send for many hunters, and they will hunt them from every mountain and hill and out of the caves and the rocks. And then he said, for I see all their ways. They are not hidden from me. Their crimes are not concealed from my eyes. And so when we're being casual, he sees that. When we give our word to somebody and then we let them down and don't even think twice about it, he sees all of that. When we make a promise that we had no intention of keeping because we didn't want to hurt the person's feelings, you just lied to them and then you're going to let them down when they're really looking for you. He sees all of that. In earlier scriptures, he said, how long are they going to backslide? Yah says that about us. How long are we going to do this? And again, I'm going to remind you, yes, again, he does love us because there are passages where it's almost as if when he's doing this stuff to us, it's like he's crying because he don't really want to, because he do love us. Just like, that precious little grandchild. You tell them, don't touch that stove. You say hot, hot, and they'll say hot, hot, and then they still want to, and you might have to pop their hand. That little cute face, they get to crying, and they do it. It does something to you. You don't want to do that, but you had to do it so that they'll know, no, when I say don't touch the stove, don't touch the stove. And he's saying to us, Barry, what are you still... But you still hung up with this stuff? When are you going to grow up, son? When are you going to mature? When are you going to stop willfully giving over to your evil inclination? Because it ain't going nowhere. I was talking to a fella, and he's trying to serve the Most High. And he was saying, well, will he just take it away from me? I said, no, he's not. I said, see, what we call an evil inclination isn't all evil. A man's evil inclination is what get his rusty butt up in the morning and go to work, take care of his family, unless he done retired. That's part of that testosterone. I'm serious. You need that. You hear something downstairs, you ain't gonna send your missus, you going to investigate. You better. Don't let me find out you sent her. So, we call it the evil inclination. But we have to harness that thing. How do we harness it? By reading and obeying the instructions for our lives. And again, the best way, you want to bless your families, you let them see you living the instructions. I don't care. They only come by once a week, okay, but when they come, let them see. And this ain't something you putting on. This is just how you are. And when they call and they want to talk to you, you might be, but make time for them. And again, like I said, give them you. Give them the you that study Torah. Give them the you that's living Torah. That'll help shape your responses to them. Because you've told them, well, if we being honest, if we told them what we've been getting, then I can understand why they're in the shape they're in. But if you've been telling them this, that's something different. But if all they've heard is, you're just so wonderful, you're this, you're that, and it's just cheap grace all over the place. And it's not. It's not like that. Everything costs, folks. Everything costs. Everything has a cost. Mm. 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 Then in 17, it gets kind of rough, but then in 17, he says the following. He says, 17:2, it says, here's what Yah says: a curse on the person who trusts in humans, who relies on who relies merely on human strength, whose heart turns away from Yah. See, it's a lot of people, they live by their own philosophy. You got some people, there is no God. And again, I'm not singling them out. But again, that's no better than a person that said they're a believer, but they living by their own Torah. Well, this is how I see it. Okay. Okay. Mm. Mm. A curse on the person who trusts in humans, who relies on merely human strength, whose hearts turn away from Yah. He will be like a tamarisk in the Avara. When relief comes, it is unaffected, for it lives in the sun-baked desert, in salty, uninhabited land. I'm going to go back again to why some of us sometimes think, well, I'm too busy to go there. And some people even think, well, I've outgrown them. I'm like, oh, gee whiz. And I'm not saying that in arrogance. But some people, I outgrew them. What do you mean? You put on 50 more pounds? Because surely you don't mean your understanding of the Torah. And again, I'm not saying that like I know so much more, but he knows a lot more. And that's who we're following. Our arrogance needs to be put in check. Then listen to what he says. He says, blessed is the man who trusts in Yah. Yah will be his security. He will be like a tree planted near water. It spreads out its roots by the river. It does not notice when heat comes, and its foliage is luxuriant. It is not anxious in a year of drought, but keeps on yielding fruit. And see, this is what you all are. Those that are trying to live life by Torah. You're the oasis that people are looking for, that are thirsty. But you gotta have his word in you to give to them. And again, it's not about beating them over the head with the Bible. It's by the way you live your life, the way you're willing to make time to hear a person out. And even if nothing comes to mind, say, listen, bruh, I've heard you. I don't have anything right now. But I'm going to get back to you, bruh. Because sometimes people really do mean when they'll ask you specifically to pray for them. Because why? They think you have a real relationship with the Most High. Because of how you live, not by what you've been saying out of your mouth. Because there's a whole lot of people, like I've said, they can quote scripture backwards and forwards. That's a good point. Because Yeshua going to say that about, didn't I do this in your name? Didn't I, because they're going to be regurgitating back what's been proclaimed to them. And he going to say, Barry, I never knew you. But you think he going to say that about somebody that's been trying to live by what the Most High has said? I don't think so. He might say, well done, thou good and faithful servant, but boy, you messed up back in. Remember when I had to do this to you? Yeah, I remember. Lord have mercy. I did have mercy. Folks, let's shake ourselves out of this. What is it, that scripture? Woe unto those that are at ease in Zion. See, because I'm telling you, a lot of people think they got it made. I can just sit back and prop my feet up. Come on, life. It's coming. I told you about the time when I was, this happened to me in Virginia. Everything was going good. Finally got a job. And got to becoming casual with life. And me and one of my coworkers, I said, yeah, this is kind of boring. That's what we said. Yeah, it's kind of boring. Why? Because it was the same thing. We were doing our job. We both did our job well. Company doing well. Paychecks coming. We thought we needed some excitement in life. Oh, it got exciting. Company ended up going out of business. You hear people, same thing. People coming to different places. Why'd you leave? Well, either they outgrew you or I was bored there. Okay. He said, blessed is the man who trusts in Yah. Yah will be his security. He will be like a tree planted near water. It spreads out its roots by the river. It does not notice when the heat comes, and its foliage is luxuriant. It is not anxious in a year of drought, but keeps on yielding fruit. And so, again, people are going to come to you because, and some of them might not know. They said, man, you just seem to be making through this. Because, everybody talks about I was somewhere in the eggs, and they was advertising like it was a sale. $8.99 for a dozen of eggs, medium. $8.99 for a dozen of eggs, medium. I got them same 4 eggs I told you I had last week. I didn't buy them. Did I have the $8.99? Yeah, I had the $8.99. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But what I'm saying is, see, this is, people go, hey, what if somebody had been in the store and they said, man, $8.99, guy got a family or something. Now, I didn't want, I would have been mad if I had to pay $8.99 because I'm not going to pay the $8.99. But I would hope that I would have had enough compassion that I could give a guy $8.99 to get him for his family or whatever. See, that's the way Torah teach you how to look at things. Because what we be getting is, if I ain't going to buy it for myself, I sure ain't going to get it for nobody else. That's the way we be taught. But y'all said, look at this thing differently. See, I keep telling you, there are differences There's something to following his instructions and carrying them out accurately. There's something to it. There are benefits to it. And I'm telling you, and folks, don't get me wrong, not everything has to be of a financial nature. It doesn't. Sometimes people might just want your counsel about something. They may ask you, well, I saw your grandchild. How much time do you spend with them? And then and you might be just explaining how you do what you do, and then they may not tell you that they're taking notes. But they say, I certainly enjoyed visiting with you, and then they'll go home and maybe try to do some of the same thing. See, there's all kind of ways you can teach people and reach people, and you ain't got to, again, take the Bible and beat them over the head with it. Just by how you live your life. I saw it, Ridge. I'm just trying to encourage you. Stay in his way. Stay in the way that he say. Stay there, because people are going to be looking for people of real substance, not the brand of what they call the gospel. They're not looking for that. They want something that's real. God bless you.